on this occasion, since our listeners will be primarily in Tibet, what are a couple of messages that you would like to give to the people inside Tibet?
Well, first of all, as you see here today, we're in the U.S. Congress. This is the most powerful body, in the U.S. government. This is the group that makes the laws, but also decides how much money to spend. And the Speaker of the House was just here. I think you probably filmed that, yeah?
Sure.
You have the Speaker of the House, which third in line is the President, Vice President, and then the Speaker of the House in terms of power. Been a long-time friend of Tibet, the Tibetan people, His Holiness the Dalai Lama especially. And what we're finding, even in the financial crisis we're having all over the world, the funding actually for Tibet has gone up this year. And as Congresswoman Ross Leighton said, tomorrow night there's going to be a vote on legislation which reaffirms the Congress's belief that Tibet is an occupied country, calls upon the Chinese government to negotiate in an honest way, in a genuine way, with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and pledges more money to help Tibetans in exile and in the settlements in the south of India, in Nepal, but also setting aside money for microloans and micro businesses inside of Tibet. So this should impact the people of Tibet also. But the most important thing for the people of Tibet to know is that they have friends. They have friends yesterday, they have friends today, and they're going to have friends tomorrow. And I think these are genuine friendships to which they can count on. It doesn't mean things are going to change radically quickly, but in the long run, with great patience, I feel very confident that this dark time for the Tibetans will be over. We've finished.
Richard, money aside, politically, can we hope that this new administration under Obama, despite what Secretary of State Clinton couldn't achieve in China, do you think, aside from our rhetoric in China, do you think this administration will be really committed to doing things positively on human rights?
Well, I have to tell you a story. When the presidential campaign was going on, and this was maybe in July of this last year, before the election, and I went to see a gathering and a speech by Senator Barack Obama at that time, and I was quite impressed with him, and I wanted to meet him, and they brought me over to meet him, and we just talked a little bit. I just wanted to get a sense of him. And as they started to leave, he said, "And Richard, I appreciate what you're doing in Tibet. I'm with you all the way. So I want you to know the President of the United States is very aware of what's going on in Tibet, and I think you can always consider him a friend." As to the strategy with China, these are difficult things. I think he'll have to figure out a strategy that is not only good for the people of Tibet, but is also good for the American people also. But I'm confident that Tibetans will not be forgotten.
And Richard, finally, as a confidant of the Dalai Lama, to some extent even more close than some of the Tibetans, now, how confident you think His Holiness is on his continued efforts to strike out a deal with China? Last November special meeting didn't really hash out anything.
No, but I thought the great, and I've said this many times today in all the meetings I've had, I said I think the greatest movement of the last 10 years is the memorandum for genuine autonomy in Tibet that the government and negotiating team came up with, that was presented to the Chinese in October, as a very clear representation of the Tibetan point of view within the constitutional law of China. And to me, it represented everything that the Tibetans would want, allowing them to have self-government, to have their own language, own religion, to govern themselves, stay as a community. I think it was a very important document and very specific. And because it was within the context of the Constitution of China, I think it's something that the other governments of the world can pressure China to seriously take and consider.
Chair, thank you so much. The dialogue will always be continued.
Well, there's one more thing. You know, you
Please.
brought up our Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. I know for a fact that Hillary Clinton cares deeply about human rights. And I know that she cares deeply about the Tibetan people. She made a very strong statement, you know, during the riots and the problems of last year in Tibet. And in fact, I wrote her a letter to that effect, and she wrote me a letter back reaffirming her position as a friend to the Tibetan people. But I also think that human rights is something that you have to say. You have to say the words over and over and over again. Human rights is not a strategy. It's a way of life. Nonviolence is not a strategy. It's a way of life. And these are the words that must be continually said over and over again in every situation. So Hillary Clinton actually has gotten a lot of flack for confusing the idea of human rights and how it fits into foreign policy.
Thank you again, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.